Hello, everybody. How are you? I'm so excited for our little co-op. And today I'm just going to talk about some specific herbs that I would highly suggest to get all the great deals. So, the first one we're going to talk about is for immune health. And I've been thinking a lot about this topic because I was sick in February, and so were a lot of my family members. And I think a lot of it has to do with excessive sugar and celebration in my family. I don't know about yours, but from October through today, March 6th, is today my grandson's 10th birthday. We have a lot of birthdays and celebrations October through March. And I sometimes have trouble saying no thanks. So I got sick, and I'm really, really grateful for one of the things I'm going to talk about today, which is Super Garlic Immune. It's a Dr. Christopher's original formula. And um, I've got some notes here. I'm just going to read from those. And let's see. All right. So I'm going to talk about super garlic, echinacea, elderberry, and astragalus root, which is very different from the others. But before talking about super garlic specific, like the herbs specifically in it, I want to share the story of its inspiration, the history behind it. This blend was originally inspired by Dr. John Raymond Christopher. I went to his school, the School of Natural Healing that he founded, I think, in 1953. And he was one of the great herbalists of last century. He was born in 1935. And I remember because my daughter and him share the same birthday. So, anyhow, he was giving a lecture in Snowflake, Arizona, and someone in the audience asked him an interesting question. They were discussing the plagues mentioned in biblical prophecy. And the person asked whether there might be an herbal formula that could help people during times of widespread illness. And he prayerfully reflected on this question, and he said he felt inspired to create this formula. He encouraged people to prepare gallons of it and keep it on hand to help their families and neighbors if illness came through the community. He called it anti-plague back then, but now it's called super garlic immune. About 3 months after that lecture in Snowflake, Arizona, um, it was reported that Snowflake experienced a severe flu outbreak, and they did lose some lives in that flu. But the people living there said that everybody that took the super garlic immune survived it. And I wasn't there. I can't say 100% that's true, but that's the story shared on Dr. Christopher's website and through his school. So the formula used today is not the exact same formula as the original one, but the inspiration behind it is still the same. He created a very balanced herbal formula to support the body during severe illness. Obviously, it's super garlic immune, so garlic is the anchor of the formula, but you'll see that the other supporting herbs are extremely important. Garlic has been valued during times of epidemic disease for centuries. During outbreaks of the plague in Europe, garlic was one of the herbs people commonly relied on to protect themselves and support their health. In fact, people who handled the bodies of plague victims were sometimes known to wear garlic around themselves and consume it in large amounts as a protective herb. It's not surprising that garlic became the central herb in Dr. Christopher's formula. Garlic is strongly antimicrobial, but what makes the formula really powerful isn't that it's just garlic, it's that it has other supportive herbs as well. The formula contains quite a few herbs, about 11 different herbs, but the easiest way to understand it is by looking at the roles the herbs play together. Some herbs provide additional antimicrobial support, and some herbs are astringents, which means they tighten and tone the mucous membranes when they're irritated or producing excess mucus or uninvited diarrhea. Astringents really help to support the body to tighten and tone those tissues in a healthy way. Then there's herbs that support lung health in the formula. And some of these are demulcent herbs, which soothe irritated tissues and they thin out stuck mucus. So those are very helpful. Other herbs in the formula are stimulating expectorants, garlic being one of them. And that means that it helps the lungs to cough out the mucus. So the demulcents thin it out, and then the expectorants help you get it out. The formula also contains herbs that support kidney function and elimination. So that helps the body clear what it obviously doesn't need during illness. And some of these herbs help reduce inflammation, muscle tension, and nervous system stress, which often show up when someone has a fever or is feeling run down. So instead of just targeting the microbes, the formula works by supporting the body's whole system. One herb that sometimes surprises people in this formula is called wormwood, and its fancy name, botanical name, is Artemisia. And there's different types of wormwoods, different types of Artemisias, but it's one of those that was discussed a lot in the last 6 years. Wormwood has a long traditional history as a bitter anti-parasitic herb. And modern research has also explored the compounds in wormwood that show activity against viruses and other pathogenic microbes. Bitter herbs like wormwood stimulate digestion and help the body maintain an internal environment that's less hospitable for harmful organisms. So, even though wormwood is quite bitter, it plays a very important role in the formula. And just on a personal note, I did raise my kids on super garlic immune. No, it doesn't taste good to most people. However, two out of my four children love it. And they said it tastes to them like salad dressing and they love it. And if I let them, they would use it as salad dressing, but it's too expensive for me to allow such a thing. But you could always add a little bit, just a serving size per person for the dressing. I personally wouldn't. I think it's bitter. But anyhow, I just thought I would share. Some people love it, some don't, but I did make my kids take it when they were young. All right, next up, Echinacea. This is another herb that many people reach for during illness, and it's not in the super garlic immune formula. So I wanted to talk about it separately. There's two main species in herbal medicine that we use. Echinacea angustifolia and Echinacea purpurea. Angustifolia has traditionally been used as a stronger immune stimulant, especially using the root. Correct dosing is really important with this herb to ensure its effectiveness. So I'll add a link to my blog about Echinacea in the notes below the video. Purpurea is often considered a little broader and a little gentler, and the dried herb can even be made into teas for immune support and seasonal allergies. Dr. Christopher actually suggested using Echinacea 6 days on, 1 day off as a way to help children stay healthy during the school year. And one of his formulas with Echinacea is called Kid E Well, and it has Echinacea and peppermint and some other herbs in it. So personally, when I work with children, mine and my grandchildren, I tend to stay more attuned to the kids themselves. So if I notice they seem a little off, then that's when I give them some echinacea. Echinacea is contraindicated for people with autoimmune issues. So if you need alternatives, please reach out to me. The best medicine is preventative, and the next two herbs touch on really great alternatives for echinacea. And the first one is elderberry. So elderberry is one of my favorite herbs for supporting children, but really everybody. Elderberry has a very long traditional history of use for supporting the body's response to viral illness. It actually stops viruses from replicating, and it also has an affinity for the lungs. It has very high antioxidant activity as well. So elderberries are really great for all things lungs, not just acute illness, but I just wanted to share this actually, excuse me. This herb actually is really great to fight off viral infections. And it can be taken in very frequent doses when sick. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make with elderberry is not taking it enough. They don't take the right amount and they don't take it frequently enough. So when my kids were younger, I would give them elderberry before and after school as a preventative. And if someone seemed like they might be coming down with something, then I would turn up the volume on that one, and then I would add garlic or super garlic immune, garlic oil, like all the things. Echinacea, ginger, sleep, Reiki, hugs, giggles, all of it. Anything to support their joy and feeling better and resting and really trying to get them well as soon as possible. But elderberry's been shown to shorten the duration of colds and flus by about 3 to 4 days. So I always suggest having this one on hand. Through the co-op, you can buy dried elderberries by the pound and make your own syrups, tinctures, teas, oxymels, or you can buy the extracts already made. And an extract made with alcohol will last thousands of years. Literally, they found them in the pyramids, thousands of years old, still very potent, and they haven't gone rancid. They don't go bad. If it's made with vegetable glycerin, that only lasts a year. So keep that in mind. And yes, I give alcohol tinctures to my kids. I just put a dropper in a like a shot glass or a little medicine cap, and then I fill it with water or juice. I don't usually give them juice. They get water. Anyway, next up, astragalus root is such a fantastic herb. I really love it for long-term immune support. So astragalus is very different from echinacea. Echinacea is a low-dose herb and something I reach for when someone's already starting to get sick. Astragalus, on the other hand, is a more food-like large-dose herb and is more of a long-term strengthening herb. In traditional herbal systems, astragalus is considered a sweet herb. There's categories like sweet, bitter, pungent, etc. And to me, astragalus root tastes like peanuts. Not everybody agrees with me, but I really like it. So sweet herbs support the spleen, stomach, and pancreas meridian system. So if you're into Chinese medicine, it really supports that. This is the part of the body responsible for transforming food into nourishment and then building healthy energy. So astragalus is known to support natural healthy energy, not like a stimulant like caffeine, but just gentle energy. So instead of pushing the immune system, astragalus root works by strengthening the body over time. It literally works down to the bone marrow, according to research. So modern research has explored many of the traditional uses, and astragalus root contains compounds that support immune regulation, cellular protection, and healthy inflammatory harmony or balance. In this traditional practice, astragalus is usually prepared as a decoction. It's the most effective way to get all the benefits from astragalus, simmered in water to draw out its properties. And traditional texts often suggest somewhere around half an ounce to a whole ounce of the dried herb every day used as a tonic. And we do this by simmering it in water, as I said. So that works out to roughly 2 tablespoons to a quarter cup of the dried root. I usually, when I get a new herb, I weigh it on my kitchen scale. And that way I know that a quarter cup of astragalus root is about an ounce. So then I don't have to measure the weight every time I use it. So astragalus is one of those herbs I definitely like to keep in the kitchen, and it can be used as a food herb. So you can simmer, either you could get it in slices or you can get it cut. I like in smaller pieces. And I usually get the cut ones because I can just put it in a muslin bag, and then you can cook it into soups, broths, teas, or even rice, and it's fantastic. And it will build the body's resilience over time. I heard an herbalist call it like over time, it helps the body's immune system act almost like a force field. It just increases your energy and your immune resilience. So it's one of those herbs that makes sense to buy by the pound or two because it's meant to be used regularly. So if a pound is 16 ounces and you use an ounce a day, that's 30 ounces in 30 days. Astragalus is really a preventative herb. And when you get sick, if you do get sick, then you don't take astragalus and you switch to the other herbs that we talked about before. So, when used consistently over time, astragalus builds strength and vitality and energy. And many people who incorporate astragalus root as a daily tonic find they experience fewer colds and fewer flus throughout the year. And if illness does come along, the body's usually much better equipped to handle it. And I just want to mention there's this I'll just call it Four Thieves out there, this title, Four Thieves. And I like to refer to fire cider, and they're not exactly the same, but you may have heard of Four Thieves vinegar, another traditional remedy connected to times of the plague in Europe. And pardon me, delicious tea. So, according to the story, thieves who robbed plague victims protected themselves with vinegar infused with antimicrobial herbs like garlic, rosemary, sage, and thyme. Sage is not safe for pregnancy or nursing, just FYI, but that tradition is carried forward into modern herbal preparations like fire cider. Rosemary Gladstar is the inventor of fire cider like a bazillion years ago. And I just love her. And fire cider is something I teach in my apprenticeship. But honestly, the recipes for all different variations of fire cider are available online for free. Herbalism has always been prepared and shared as a community. So in our house, we love using fire cider, but I didn't make it this year, and I'm so bummed about that. So I just got some horseradish root, so I will be making some. I'm gonna really force myself to be productive in that way. We use garlic, horseradish, ginger, onion, thyme, and cayenne. And we love adding orange and lemon slices too. It tastes so good. And it's an oxymel, it's vinegar and honey. And you get to decide your ratios. Some people like it sweeter, some people don't. So if you like it sweeter, it's 50-50. If not, make your adjustments. It ends up being really delicious and warming and really supportive as a preventative. But of course, you can take lots more when you're sick. So, in closing, herbal medicine has always been about community knowledge, learning from the plants, learning from each other, and from the traditions that came long before we did. Some herbs support us during illness, and some herbs help nourish and build strength and harmony over time. If learning herbal medicine more deeply ever calls to you, I offer a shamanic herbalism apprenticeship where I teach people how to understand herbs from both the traditional and the modern scientific practical perspectives. But even learning to use a few herbs well at home, like you did today, can be incredibly empowering. And I'm really glad that we get to share these plants together through the co-op. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to help you. Have a beautiful day. Bye.